there. Let's have a quick recap on what we're trying to achieve here on this particular project. Well, as some of you will already know, we've been removing paint from the brickwork. This is a very slow process, and something that on this particular building is absolutely essential because of damp internal. And it's pretty much caused through the paint and cement slurry and cement pointing is on the building. Now there are several different ways that you can remove paint from masonry. You could use, for example, a poultice system, which is a paint stripping system. You could use a wet blast, which would remove the paint. That would also remove the cement slurry. We did get a price for that, but it's very costly. You could use something like a paint softener and then a high pressure steam system like a doff cleaner, that type of thing. Or you could do exactly what we're doing here, which is to use a cup disc. Now the cup disc system is being preferred on this particular project because of the cement slurry that is all over the brick. And a paint stripper or a doff system wouldn't remove that slurry. And the wet blast is a bit too expensive, so we decided to go with the old cup disc, which is slow, dirty and horrible. So step one would be to obviously get your scaffolding on. Once you've done that, you can then attack it with your cup disc. Like I said, this is a slow process and really not very pleasant to do. However, it is effective. Now I noticed one or two of you lads who ran picking up on the old line pointing and fancying a do. So that's fine, that's great, and I do encourage that. However, be very, very cautious when you're doing work like this. It's not the same as doing your general building work. There's a lot more to it. You know, I'm always happy to give out advice. You know, just drop me a message. That's fine. You know, I'll always try and help and answer your questions. But be aware that doing this, it does take a lot of practice. You know, don't just fire into it. You see, lime can be an unforgiving material. You don't do it by the book and it's going to come and bite you in the arse later on. It really is. So be warned. Also doing things like we're doing here where we're taking the paint off with the cup disc. It does take a lot of practice to use one of these cup discs. It's not something you can just go down to your local builders merchants, buy a cup disc and fire it on your grinder and just crack on with it. You know, you're going to come unstuck if you do that. You've got to be careful how much you take off the surface of the brick. You know, you've got to hold your grinder onto it flat, etc. Otherwise you're going to bugger up the bricks. You also couldn't do this on something like a rustic brick or say like a stock brick. You know, it's on these old clay commons. It's not too bad because they're a rough brick anyway. So you know you get away with it. But if this was on anything else, we'd be looking at doing something like a paint stripping system because it's gentler. Okay, let's talk about stone, and painted stone in particular. Right, so we're going to show you now how to basically remove the paint and recut the face of the stone. Right, so first of all we want the old cup disc to remove that paint. Here we go.
Now you can see how I'm keeping the disc flat to the stone. You don't want to be moving it too much because it'll leave marks in the stone. You want it coming out as smooth as you can get it, the cup disc. Right, I'll do a bit more and then come back to you.
Bear in mind, when you're actually recutting the face of the stone, you've got to be more cautious than when you're doing the bricks. You can take a brick out and replace it very easily, but something like this lintel, it's ever so expensive to change it if you bugger it up with your disc, so be warned. To be quite honest, I wouldn't recommend you having a do on the stone if you're not experienced in doing it. I've been doing it for a long time, you know, and I'm not perfect, but I do have a bit of experience at doing this kind of thing.
Right, as you can see, all the paint's gone. So the next step is to keep going over with that cup disc now to get it nice and level again. Once that's done, we then have to put the flapper disc on it to get it smooth. Yeah.
So we're now at the stage of kind of recutting the face of the stone. As you can see, I'm going around in a circular motion. You don't want to be going sort of up and down, side to side, and you don't want to be putting a lot of pressure on it really. You've got to be so careful doing this kind of thing. You know, it is hard. Be aware that if you are going to have a go at doing an old piece of stone like this, you quite easily damage it. These cup discs, you know, they're unforgiving. You just don't pay attention for 2 seconds and that's it. You've taken a chunk out of a piece of stone and, you know, there's no going back. And you can't whip that stone out and change it. It's something that I can't stress more. Be very, very cautious when working with this this old stone. You know, at the end of the day, this was put in this building in 1864. So, in effect, you know, if it was a piece of furniture, it'd be an antique. But it's, you know, it's equally as important to preserve it as an old piece of, say, Georgian furniture or something like that. You know, don't be under any impression that, you know, this is like a bit of a building job and you can just quickly whip over something and make your pennies and that's it. You know, it's a slow process. It's very, very, very important to do it correctly. Anyway, there you go. You can see the finished result after the old cup disc has been on it. It's now as flat as we're going to get it, and yeah, a damn sight better than it was when we had paint all over it. And of course now it can breathe again. You know, that water can get in, it can get out. It's not going to cause any damp issues internally, and it's not going to rot the stone.
Right, so that's that stage done. So the next stage is the old flapper disc. Now if you're doing it and you flap a disc, it wants to be a 40 grit. You don't want to be heavier than that. That's it. Just unplug the grinder before I change that bit. Let's have a quick glance. Right, for those who don't know, that's a flapper disc. That one's a 40 grit. And it'll go onto a 4-inch angle grinder quite happily. And this is kind of like your sand in it, really. Right, put the old plug back in. Come on, plug. Right, get the old goggles back on. Didn't wear them yesterday and I got a big lump of crap in the eye just before I finished. So, goggles on today.
This stage is the bit where we go over it with the old flapper disc. And remember, it's a 40 grit. You don't want heavier than a 40. You're just going to leave more marks in it if you do that. The object of doing this is to remove any blemishes or marks, etc., that are left from the cup disc. Now you can go a step further when doing this by going over it with an orbital sander once you've done the old flapper disc. And by doing that, you've got to get it a lot smoother. There's not a necessity for it on this particular piece, so we shan't be doing that. Now, again, you know, don't just sort of rush into doing this. It does take practice. You've got to be careful, because you can leave marks with a flapper disc. You know, you can damage it, say for example on the edge. And again, you know, you can't go back. Once you've taken a lump out of a piece of stone, you can't go back. It's basically buggered. So go with caution. You can feel over the top of the stone to see if there's any sort of high spots, low spots, anything like that, with your hand. I mean, you can use a metal rule or something like that if you wanted to. You don't have to just rely on your hand. If you're going to be a bit more precise, get a metal rule on it.
So, used to be a lot of little splits and splats of cement mortar still stuck on it, but I've already taken about 2mm off it and it's now flush with a brick, so I don't really want to take any more off. I mean, it's down the side, it's at the back, so you know, I think we'll just have to live with that one. And the top of it, the top edge there, now that obviously has had some damage in the past, so what I'll do is when we come to do the pointing in the spring, I'll put a pencil line on it with a level and then very carefully recut the top edge and then point to it so it's nice and straight again. It's probably erosion, to be honest. But we'll not do that till the spring. Right, change the disc again and do the underside. And then we've got the sill to do, which is the level below. However, we've now removed all the paint from the gable end. That's all the paint gone, all the old cement water taken out. Right from the ground, right to the tip of the apex. It's all done. So it's only the stonework to do now. Because next Monday, I have to go and start another job. It's a pointing job, but we're doing that in a cement mortar. They don't want it in lime, and that's fine. I'm happy with that, you know. It's nothing special, it's just an old Victorian townhouse in stock brick, engineering brick. So I'll probably do a 5-to-1 mix on that, not too hard. Right, I'll crack on and we'll catch you shortly. Right, there we go, that's that one all done. So when you go in with your cup disc, go in a circular motion. You don't want to be going like that, because you'll tend to dig in and leave lines. But if you're doing a circular motion, that should stop you digging in. And pretty much the same with the flapper disc. Right, so we've got that one down there to do. So we're going to drop everything down, and then we've got to wash all this dust off everything from the cutting out this morning. Right, wind's getting up. And there you have it, look at that. That's been a challenge, that has. It's all stripped and cut out now. Come the spring, we can get all this line pointed. A few bricks to change, some new air bricks to fit up there. And thank goodness. I mean, it's taken me, well, probably on and off, because I've been doing the chimney and things. A couple of days doing scaffolding. It's probably taken me 2 weeks to strip all that, so that's not too bad at all. Especially when we were quoted £8 to do it with a wet blast. Much better. Right, I'm definitely going to get a brew now. It's 3 o'clock and I am parched. The old gable end is done now. So we can take the scaffolding down and reset it. It's a bit windy, extremely cold, but we're brave, we can do it. Right, let's crack on, get this damn thing down. Oh, very windy up here. First job, get some planks on there I can reach. Well, so far so good. Handrails are off, tubes are down, so let's just disassemble all the framework. Well, that's the scaffold down. It's a bit windy, to say the least, so it was a bit airy up there doing that, but it's all down. as you can see. I'm going to have a clean up, and then we'll get some final shots of the old gable end for you to see. But yeah, it's done. Hurrah! Chimney done, pot done, paint stripped, mortar off, cement pointing out. That's it. The only bits that we have got to do, to be honest, is 2 heads on the ground floor, 2 stone heads, or lintels, some of you may prefer. However, it's something I can do later on, because I need to get the scaffolding down, moved, cleaned up, so that they've got half a driveway back, because I've got to bugger off and start this other job on Monday. So I don't want to leave it in a mess, because they're away at the minute. I think they're back tomorrow. The sun's here though, you know, so I've still got to keep it clean and neat and safe. Right, enough waffling on. I'm going to crack on, and we'll give you another view in a little bit of the old gable. I don't think the microphone's picking it up. It's very windy, let's see. And of course, still got all this mess to clean up, which I think might be tomorrow. Look at that up there. That head to do there. What a job. What a job. So the next bit, I think he's used some of the tubular scaffolding just to extend it this way a bit. I was going to go up and around the stack, however, we're going to another job next week, so I don't really want it up there for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I'm a little bit down at this level. Right, let's do that. Well, 1 minute it's blue sky, and the next minute the heavens opened. It's like monsoon rain coming down. Anyway, I think that's it for this week's video. Not been a great deal for me to film for you that's not already been shown. So I've done a few bits, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. Start a fresh job next week, so there'll be more hints and tips and interesting things going on there. Well, a big welcome to all the new subscribers this week. Really appreciate you subscribing, and thank you to everybody that gave thumbs up. And remember, like I said, if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to ask me. I don't know everything, but I may be able to help with something you're having a problem with. So there we go. Look at that man jogging. Jog on, it's chucking it down. Yeah, so that's it. We shall see you next week for another episode of Buggering About with Old Buildings. See you next week.